لا إله إلا الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ به من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. وقال الله تعالى بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد فإن خير الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل بدعة ضلالة. I'll start out with the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam first. The topic of today's khutbah is al-istikhlaf al-ilahi, which we can translate into English as the divine rule of replacing one nation with another nation. The hadith is from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It is an Abi Sayyid al-Khudri radiyallahu ta'ala an Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam qala la tatba'unna sunana man kana qablakum shibran shibran wa dira'an bi dira'in hatta law dakhalu juhra dabbin tabaytumuhum. قلنا يا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم اليهود والنصارى قال فمن. So Abu Sa'id al-Khudri radiyallahu ta'ala mentioned that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that you will definitely follow the ways of people before you, inch by inch, arm by arm. And to the extent that if someone were to enter into the hole of a lizard, sand lizard, you will enter it as well. And people asked him, do you mean the Jews and the Christians of the Prophet ﷺ? He said, who else? Which means, if we look at it historically, the Jews came first in terms of the divine revelation, the book that we have, Torah. Then the Christians, the religion of Isa ﷺ, not Christianity. And then Islam, the religion of Islam. Muhammad ﷺ brought it as the last messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Although this is not the last religion, it is the religion from the very beginning, in the Dina, in the Lahil Islam. So it's a replacement of one Sharia with another Sharia. It's a replacement of one supreme power by another supreme power. It's a replacement of human beings living on the face of earth at a particular point in time by another people who come after them. It's like replacement of trees on a tree by other leaves, and so on and so forth. It's a cycle in the universe where one individual or one thing gets replaced by another one. But what we are talking about today is actually in a very broad context. And it's something that really frightens me and bothers me a lot. That we will be following the customs of the nations before us, the Jews and the Christians. And I'm talking mostly in terms of moving away from religion. I'll give you some statistics. But let's look at the ayat, which is known as the ayat of istikhlaf in the Quran. Certain verses of the Quran are given special names. Ayatul Kursi, for example. Ayatul Dan, another example. This ayah comes in Surah Al-Nur, 24th Surah, is ayah number 55. 24-55. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, وَعَدَ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنْكُمْ وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised the people from among you who believe and who do good deeds. As we have learned several times, Iman and Amal Saleh come together in Islam. So what's the wa'da, what's the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? لَا يَسْتَخْلِفَنَّهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ كَمَا اسْتَخْلَفَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ. So the derivative of the word istikhlaf comes twice. And this derivation of istikhlaf comes in the Quran at many places. And each time it means replacing one nation, one people by another group. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is promising that He will surely make them successors in the earth. So one way of looking at istikhlaf will be replacement, substitution, succession, to replace someone, some group, some community, some nation with another one. That's the context. Just as He made those who were before them successors. So now look at this verse in the context of the hadith that I mentioned, and I will just repeat it because some of you may have come late, that Allah subhanahu, the Prophet said that you will definitely follow the ways of the people before you. And the question was, who are they? And said, the Jews and the Christians. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned, وَلَا يُمَكِّنَنَّ لَهُمْ دِينَهُمُ الَّذِي ارْتَضَىٰ لَهُمْ. And He will surely establish for them their religion which He has approved for them. So the promise, first promise, replacing other nations by Muslims. Second, to establish their religion of Islam. Third thing, وَلَا يُبَدَّلَنَّهُمْ مِنْ بَعْدِ خَوْفٍ أَمْنًا. And He will change them from a condition of utter fear to a condition of absolute safety. There is a context to this word. But what would be the conditions? Allah's promises are conditional. We have to fulfill them. Allah will not break His promise, but Allah wants us something to do. So the conditions here are, يَعْبُدُونَنِي, that you worship me and me only, لَا يُشْرِكُونَ بِي شَيْئًا, without ascribing any partners to me. وَمَنْ كَفَرَ بَعْدَ ذَلِكَ, and whoever is ungrateful afterwards, فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْفَاسِقُونَ. So if you look at it, the first demand is Iman. Second demand, Amal Saleh. Third demand, worshipping only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without ascribing any partners to Him. Fourth demand, be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Shukr. So if you don't want to hear anything more, these four things are very important. Iman, renew your Iman every day. Do one good deed every day. Do one act of worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala purely with complete sincerity and say Shukrullah walhamdulillah. Four simple demands. If you do that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make you successors in place of others, and He will change your state of fear to a state of complete security. What's the context of this verse? It's a long verse. It actually came in Medina. When the Muslims migrated from Mecca to Medina, for the first few years, they were in a constant state of fear, khawf. There was no security. You would imagine that once they have moved away from Mecca, where they were being harassed and persecuted by the Quraysh, they will have a sigh of relief. We are safe now. No, they were not safe. There was always danger from outside, and we know that several battles that were fought, there was a danger from inside. And it was two-pronged danger. One was the munafiqeen, hypocrites, who infiltrate your ranks and try to undermine from inside. And then there were Jews from outside. So if you look at it, in Mecca, the danger was only from one party, Quraysh. In Medina, it's not a state of security. It's now threefold danger. The Quraysh are attacking, warring against you. The munafiqeen are inside you but trying to weaken you. And the Jews who are supporting your enemies. So it was not a state of security in Medina. If we imagine, Muslims were being attacked. So in this way, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that, don't worry, that state of fear will go away. You will be the successors of those who were before you, which means now the Sharia will be replaced by the Sharia of Islam. The state of Islam, the first Islamic state, will be established. You will enjoy complete security, but you have to stay with your belief. You need to continue doing good deeds. You need to worship me only, and you need to be thankful to me. So that's the context of istikhlaf. Now, in order to highlight it, there's so many other things that one can mention, but let's start with one incident from the life of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, but this part also comes. This part is mentioned in Surah Al-Araf as well as in Surah Ash-Shu'ara. So the first verses that I'm quoting are from Surah Ash-Shu'ara from 52 to 59, and it tells you the mindset of the people who colonize others, who conquer others, who control others. So here is وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَى مُوسَىٰ أَنْ أَسْرِ بِعِبَادِي إِنَّكُمْ مُتَّبَعُونَ That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to Musa alayhi salatu wasalam that it's time to leave at night with my servants. But I'm also warning you, you will be followed. Why does Allah have to say this to Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, you will be followed? It's to be understood when they are running away, Pharaoh will follow him. The context actually comes from Bible, that there were 9 plagues that came to the people of Pharaoh, Egyptians. Each time they will go to Musa alayhi salatu wasalam and say, pray to your God to remove this calamity from us. And once it was removed, they will go back to their other ways, the same ways. The 9th one, according to Bible, was the worst one. That the firstborn in every Egyptian household died. Okay. Pharaoh said, I have had enough of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. So he and his people told him, please go away. Take your people with me and leave us alone. Once they said this, there was another meeting behind closed doors in which they said, what are we doing? Why are we allowing them to go away? Why can't we just kill them? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, just go. But I'm telling you, Pharaoh has changed his mind. He and his army will be following you. Okay. So now, فَأَرْسَلَ فِرْعَوْنُ فِي الْمَدَائِنِ حَاشِرِينَ. So now Pharaoh, and the Quran doesn't mention that part which is mentioned in Bible, Pharaoh called his people, his security officers and his cabinet, and he tells them, إِنَّ هَؤُلَاءِ لَشِرْذِمَةٌ قَلِيلُونَ. That party, that Bani Israel, they are nothing. They are a very small group. Now the word qalilun here, according to the majority of Mufassirin, is a statement of hatred and humiliation. According to the Bible, the Bani Israel were 600,000. You cannot describe 600,000 as qalilun. Okay? So here, it's not numerical contempt, it's actually that they are powerless, they are helpless. Even though they are big in numbers, we can cut them. Then he says, وَإِنَّهُمْ لَنَا لَغَائِبُونَ. And this is the statement that the British made, French made, when they were colonizing the Muslim states. And when they were forced to live, they said, these people whom we have enslaved, but we are superior to them, all we are doing is for their own good, they are becoming jealous of us. There is a book, if you want to read, the title of the book is The Dust of Empire. It is about colonization, and the dust of empire is a statement used by de Gaulle, who was the president of France. They colonized a lot of African countries, including Algeria. And when those colonies became independent countries, he had to make some face-saving statement. We are losing control. No, we are not losing control. So he says, what are these empires? What are these states? They are the dust of our empire, which means I don't care. Similarly, لَشَرْزَمَةٌ قَلِيلٌ. They don't mean anything to us. Let them be separate. But you know what happened. So now he says, وَإِنَّا لَجَمِيعٌ حَاضِرُونَ. We are a group. We are prepared to take care of them. And then he continues. Then the next 2 verses are actually discussed, explained differently. I will give you one explanation. That this is the statement of Pharaoh. فَأَخْرَجْنَاهُمْ جَنَّاتِ وَعُيُونَ. Why are they jealous of us? Because we took over their land. We took over their Jannat, their gardens, their springs. we expelled them from them. So British colonization of India, they expelled the Mughal Empire. They took everything. The Kohinoor diamond is still in the crown of the Queen of England. They have not done any reparation for the trillions they took away, for the millions of people who were killed in the drought in Bengal, where people in Bengal were dying and the British were exporting the wheat to UK, their own country. So they test sort of the statement. And they say, وَكُنُوزِ وَمَقَامٍ كَرِيمٍ. And their treasures, we took their treasures, we took away their high status. Okay? Because after Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam, beginning of Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam, Bani Israel were enjoying all of it until the pharaohs came back. And they took away everything from Bani Israel and they made them slaves as well. So he's saying that they are against us because this is what we did. He knows this, but still the arrogance is there. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answers all of it with one statement, which is explained in other places. Really? Yes, it's what you're saying? Then we gave all of it to Bani Israel. Now a question comes that actually Bilal, many of you know, we were discussing this verse last week, and he said Bani Israel were expelled from Egypt. They went to Sinai. They did not get everything back. So what does this verse of Quran mean? And actually Sheikh Maududi have written a lot about it, that it didn't happen in the time of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, but subsequently, during the time of Dawud alayhi salatu wasalam and Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam, a united Israeli state was established and they took over everything. And the reference in the Quran comes from Surah Al-Araf. First, when Bani Israel were expelled, they started to blame Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. It is because of you. We didn't see anything good before you, we haven't seen anything good after you. So they are blaming him, and his answer was, Asa Rabbukum, an yulika aduwakum wa yastakhlifakum fil ard. Istikhlaf again comes here. The Musa alayhi salatu wasalam says, maybe well that your sustainer will destroy your enemy and make you inherit the earth. What earth it is? What did they inherit? Surah Al-Araf continues 137. The original common lafina, again the word orisna comes here. Virasat dena, to make them inherit. وَأَوْرَثْنَا الْقَوْمَ الَّذِينَ كَانُوا يُسْتَضْعَفُونَ مَشَارِقَ الْأَرْضِ وَمَغَارِبَهَا الَّتِي بَارَكْنَا فِيهَا وَتَمَّتْ كَلِمَةُ رَبِّكَ الْحُسْنَى عَلَى بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ بِمَا صَبَرُوا وَدَمَّرْنَا مَا كَانَ يَصْنَعُ فِرْعَوْنُ وَقَوْمُهُ وَمَا كَانُوا يَعْرِشُونَ. Fir'aun is gone. The blessed land, Jerusalem, was conquered well afterwards. But Allah's plan is over centuries. It's not just overnight thing. The translation, whereas unto the people who in the past have been deemed utterly low, وَشِرْذِمَةٌ قَلِيلٌ. Explain the Quran from another part of the explain in the Quran. This is what Pharaoh said. We gave as their heritage, the Orisna, the eastern and western parts of the land that we had blessed. And thus thy sustainer is good promise. That was the promise that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made to Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. Good promise unto the children of Israel was fulfilled in the result of their patience in adversity, whereas we utterly destroyed all that Pharaoh and his people had wrought and all that they had built. So that is one way of istikhlaf, that the superpower of the time that had enslaved Bani Israel came crashing down, and everything they owned was taken away from them, and in due course of time, they were replaced by Bani Israel when they followed the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But then there is a warning for all of us in Quran, and I will take it in more detail in the second part, in the light of the hadith. إِن يَسَعْ يُذْهِبْكُمْ أَيُّهَا النَّاسِ. This warning is for all people, including Muslims, according to the hadith as well. وَيَأْتِ بِآخَرِينَ وَكَانَ لَهُ عَلَى ذَلِكَ قَدِيرًا. That if Allah wants, He can take away, He can remove you, and istikhlaf, He can put others in your place, and if Allah wants, He can do anything. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر لي ولكم ولذكر الله أكبر. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد So now, replacement of one by another. And the hadith, which I will say again in English because many of you have come late, which ties with what I'm going to say now. The Prophet said that surely you will follow the ways of those nations who were before you. In everything, as one arrow resembles another, so much so that even if they entered the hole of a sand lizard, you would enter it. The companions of Ridwan said, O Messenger of Allah, do you mean the Jews and the Christians? And he replied, who else? So what is happening that I'm talking about today in this context of istikhlaf and following the ways of the earlier people? So I'll give you some statistics. These are some minimum statistics, but there is a lot more on the internet, which is looking at the three Abrahamic faiths: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. It's a Pew study that how many people who were born into these three Abrahamic faiths are turning away from religion and what are the causes. And then I will reflect upon what can we do to make sure that we stay on Islam and our generations stay on Islam. So the first is about the Jewish population, and I'll just read very quickly. The American Jewish population, these are American studies, but the figures for Muslims are even more shocking if you look at Iran, Pakistan, and Arab countries. And you can go online and look at it. The American Jewish population, like other religious groups, is in a constant flux. Some people who were raised as Jews have left the religion, while some who were raised outside the faith now identify with it. Many others have switched denominations within Judaism, a trend that has seen the reform movement grow modestly, and conservative Judaism experience innate loss according to a recent Pew Research Center survey. So what are those denominations? Ultra-Orthodox Jews, conservative Jews, liberal Jews, Jews without God, this is a new thing, and cultural Jews. Okay? So people still want to identify themselves as Jews. They will always support Israel. They may participate in some of the ceremonies, some of them don't, but they don't believe in God or they don't subscribe to the Jewish ideology. Same thing is happening in Islam. I'll come to that. So it says overall, 88% of US adults who were raised Jewish are still Jewish today. 70% identify with the Jewish religion, and 18% do not identify with any religion, but who consider themselves Jewish in some other way, such as culturally, ethnically, or family background. Same thing with Muslims, and I will tell you about it. On the other hand, 12% of US adults who were raised as Jewish are no longer Jewish, including 5% who are now Christians. Okay. Now, Christianity. Although Christianity is the dominant religion in the United States, it won't be for long. New data shows a growing number of people are leaving the religious faith behind. There is a reduction in religious identification and religious service attendance across the board. I practice in one of the smaller towns in America. There used to be 7 churches for a population of 26,000. Currently, I believe there are only 2 that are functioning, and the attendance in even those 2 has gone down. Just one thing. So an analysis from the Pew Research Center that 60% of Americans now identify as Christian, which is down from 78% in 2007. So in 10 years, the percentage of Christians identified themselves as Christian has gone down by 15%. Over the same period, the number of people who do not identify with any particular religion increased from 16% to 29%. The Prophet said, we will follow the people before us, right? The Muslims. 2017 Pew Research Center. So they said that, so again, US Muslims only, using slightly different question than the 2014 survey, found a similar estimate, 24%, 1 out of 4. 24% of 20% of those who were raised Muslim but have left Islam. Among this group, 1 out of 4 Muslims have left Islam. So among those 55% no longer identify with any religion. You can go to xmuslim.com and pakistaniatheist.com. You will find those figures. Among this group, 55% no longer identify with any religion. Fewer, 22% as Christian. 22% of Muslims becoming Christian. There are not 22% Christians who are becoming Muslims. Isn't it a frightening thing? In addition, 1 in 5 identify with a wide variety of smaller groups including faiths such as Buddhism, Hinduism, Judaism, or generally spiritual but not Muslims. So the denomination that we Muslims have, and my own personal experience talking to some of my own colleagues, my friends, born Muslims, one of them, my colleague who doesn't come for Friday, and I ask him, why don't you come? He said, I'm spiritual but not religious. Another is that I'm cultural Muslim. And one very famous Indian writer was asked, what do you mean by cultural Muslim? He said, I like Urdu language and I like the Eid festivities, but I don't go to the mosque. A few years later, he openly said online that I'm an atheist. Okay. One very famous Indian actor was engaged in a dialogue with Zakir Naik. Some of you may know Zakir Naik. It was on YouTube. And he said, I am non-practicing Muslim. And the answer was like, you work for a company, you sign up the contract, you don't go for work, a month later you go and say, give me my paycheck. So why? I am a non-working employee. That kind of comparison. I am a non-practicing Muslim. Now these are some of the American statistics. I was doing a little bit more research. 32% of Iranian Shias are no longer Muslims. There is 1 in 3 Iranian Shia Muslim, if you want to call them Muslim, I'll call them Muslim. They are no longer Shias. What are the various reasons? Half of them say that they do not agree with the Islamic ideology, by which they mean the Islam as presented to them by their parents or their local preachers who may not even understand Islam very well. Others say they don't believe that God exists. Others are against organized religion, and this is another talk. What is the meaning of organized religion? And others say they don't want to just observe Islam, so they are non-practicing Muslims, but they don't want to identify themselves as Muslims. It's really terrifying for me if these figures continue to go up. We have 24% according to the 2017 survey. I don't know what has happened in the last 5 years. But what can we do? First is we have to stay Muslims. And we have to keep making this dua, tawaffana Muslimin. Oh Allah, give us death in a stage that we are Muslims. We are submitting to you, and our children as well. We need to remain connected with our community. इकबाल ऐसे पैवस्ता रहे शजर से उम्मीद बाहर रख उम्मत के साथ रास्ता रुस्तवार रख. Keep your connection with the ummah, and then you can only hope. Keep coming to the masjid. Keep bringing your children to the masjid. Sunday school, Islamic schools, homeschooling, halakas in the masjid, halakas at homes as well. In every gathering that you have, make sure that if it's time for Maghrib or Isha prayers, you pray in Jamaat. Read the Darud on the Prophet ﷺ. Discuss one ayah, one hadith. And there is a lot more that we discuss which is totally useless and waste of time. But if somebody is knowledgeable, say, please tell us some hadith, something from the Quran. If we don't do it, will our generations be in that 24% or 32% group that leave Islam? I'm frightened. May Allah forgive me. The daughter of Dr. Ahmed Ghayat and Dina Surur had surgery yesterday, so we make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allahumma rabban nas adbil bas ishfa anta shafi la shifa illa shifa shifa la yughadiru saqama. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون وأقيموا الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
لا إله إلا الله. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم
مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين